Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and start, read some poems. Thank you, Phil, for having me out here. Very beautiful room, very beautiful space. Happy to be here. Spanish midterm. Let me start off by saying I wasn't a very good student, or actually, I was a pretty decent student until my senior year, and I made the decision not to go to school anymore, which was a mistake. Don't do that. Um, yeah, so I found myself doing a lot of other things when I didn't go to school. So, Spanish midterm. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Last night, I sat in a park among friends, four of us each with a cold 40 in our hands, our voices straining against the speed of the 710. Jason and Romeo have finished their duty in Iraq and tell stories of near death in the darkness of another world I can only imagine. Jorge, in high school a father, says how last night over the phone his girlfriend told him he would again be a father, and how he wanted desperately then to say to her that she had the wrong number or hang up, because he thinks he may be too much a coward for being twice a father at only 21. We sit on our special tree stumps covered in spray paint and begin to recount the days in high school when we ditched fifth period Brit Lit and drove to San Pedro with pounds of carne asada and cases of Coronas, days of innocence and ignorance when we knew almost nothing else except the city in which we lived. And after, the dark hush that began to fill the trees, the 710, fill the city and the trash on the floor around us. It darkened the countless cigarette butts, the empty bottle of Jose Cuervo, and the failed Spanish exam resting beside my foot. A midterm some high school student dropped on purpose, I suppose, because of the red F on top, written with a care and carelessness I can clearly remember, because I too have failed. Today, here with my friends whose faces I barely recognize in the dim light of dusk, the darkness fills me with a desire which fills us four, I suppose. The desire to carelessly, effortlessly, as if it were that simple, drop all our failures on the floor. So we moved a lot when I was very young. Somewhere in my mind, I have the number of schools that we attended. I'm the youngest of four, so my brothers had it much worse. We just moved from house to house. I think my father was always restless. Funny though, he never had a job to be able to say we're going to get up and move to another house, so it was usually my mom who was the breadwinner who took care of us. But this is kind of just going back. It's called Coming Home. I am trying to remember the exact pitch of my mother's young voice as she cried out, "Chicles, chicles," earning pennies in the Plaza Municipal. I am trying to remember the sheen of my father's skin as he cut sugarcane, the sweat of hours glowing on his darkened body, toiling from dawn till dusk. So that now I might take the box of gum from my mother's hand and reach out for my father's wrist to take the machete from his, so that I can lead them across time, across land to a house they will build, cinder block by cinder block, and let them walk across the tile they will lay, square after square, and introduce the children they will bear, boy after boy after boy after boy. The only house they can afford, the only house they can afford, built on a dirt road 3 toll booths south of Tijuana. Or this, a simpler truth, about how, as a 30-year-old man, I'll return home, though no one has called it that in years, to a house covered in lightweight blankets of dust, where the termites have done the work of forgetting, and what remains clings to ceiling corners like spiderwebs. Now, with a broom held firmly in my hand, I try to sweep the last silence from a house long abandoned, like a child waiting for his parents to return. So I consider myself very fortunate to have gone to the MFA program at UCR. There was a gentleman there who was very supportive and has been very kind to publish some poems. So I'll read a poem that Buckley, if you don't know him, the man up here, published in Miramar. It was the one Phil was referring. It's called Quaker Oats. No, I won't say anything. Quaker Oats. Today the bears came out again and grizzled outside my window, hungry. Cloaked in a red blanket, I began to dream of oatmeal, dry and clumpy, just like my mother's used to make on Sunday mornings before church, where I prayed to a God I didn't believe in Monday through Sunday, and never satisfied, I complained it was too hot, too cold, just to annoy her. And some Sundays told her that even a bear wouldn't eat her oatmeal, and she would cry over the pot, making the oatmeal just right. And I would eat it whole, barely chewing, before being sent outside to play in the backyard, more a forest, where I would fall asleep and dream of being eaten for all my small sins. Falling asleep. A lemon falls from a tree, the first half of a heartbeat. Then the rattle of a neighbor's AC. A car chokes on the cold of early morning, wiper blades cut through mist. The soft cries of my mother in the next room, who hasn't dreamt of her dead mother in months, who hasn't dreamt of her dead brother in years. Nothing disappears, I'm convinced, but simply lingers. The lamp turned off, eyes shut, in still hints of light. All the world is asleep, and I dream the flesh of ghosts. The tiny, wet body of an unborn child asleep in my palm. My grandmother's thumb rubbing the sign of the cross along my forehead. Finally, silence, though I have feared this all my life. I tell myself over and over again, open your eyes, but I can't stop the quiet. So in addition to moving a lot, we moved a lot in my father's van. My father had one of those vans, I'm sure you all remember, the real vans, not the little minivans they have now, but the one that had the kind of LED lighting all the way to the back, blue, right? The little tables you could stick in the little hole, and we never used those, but they were still there. The love seat in the back, you could take it out. So that used to take us all these places. My dad never let us use the restroom, right? Like continuously said, we're just gonna go there, we're gonna get there, and we're gonna get there in 2.5 hours. Don't stop us. So a lot of times that called for taking alternative measures, right? So this poem, it's a little bit longer, it's in 5 sections, it's called Piss. In the dream, I am standing before a urinal in a room full of urinals, hundreds, white-toothed and impeccable, a gigantic simper mocking the baby chick in my hands. I can't pee, though my boy body is ready to sing its song, the sudden shudder of goose flesh, the release and trickle, a stream the color of too little water to drink, warmth rising. But when it comes clumsily and full of consequences, drops of urine spotting pant legs and shoes, speckling my hands, pee pouring down my thigh, my knee, then foot, drowning in what tastes like the sea, salt water and toxin, the bladder's dirty bathwater, a stream, now a river, a deafening cascade Niagara-esque that sweeps me awake. 2. Because nothing would stop my father from getting where he wanted to go on hour-long road trips, we knew to ask for nothing. Not food if we were hungry, not something to drink, not one 10-minute stop on the side of the road so we could use the restroom, a random roadside crucifix, the victim of our aim and anger. Instead, we saved 2-liter bottles and took turns, 4 boys, my brothers and I, kneeling in the back of the van, my shorts barely covering my ass, trying to stick the worm between my legs into the bottle mouth, each of us trying to steady our aim, maintain balance, the occasional spill, warm urine running down my hands, trailing over our fingers, and me crying over the bottle, ashamed at such ritual failure. 3. What pools on the mattress is darker than the night. Startled from a dream, I lie still and understand the cold crawling across my body is from something bad I've done. In the bathroom, I undress in the dark, ball up my clothes inside the balled up sheets and sneak outside to the trash. But still, the mattress knows I'm soaked in the smell of shame. 4. Sometimes when awake, the dreams begin its drizzle. My father picks me up for the weekend. Not true. He tells me he's missed me since leaving. Not true. He pulls up along the curb and says, "We're here." Not true. Not a home, but a curb painted red. Not true. A van parked along the street. Not true. The acrid scent of his tools dizzying. True. Wrench, hammer, screwdriver, nails. True. I ask him, "Where do you go to the bathroom?" Not true. 2-liter bottles lined up in the back of the van. Not true. Some empty, some full. Not true. I am 13 the first time I pity my father. True. 5. In the dream within the dream, I lie beside my father, pretending to sleep. The constant hum of a street lamp makes it almost impossible, and I watch strange shadows of homeless Los Angeles men walk by or peer in the windows. Hours before I'll have to wake for school, I tell myself I can hold it. I tell myself that I am now too old to piss myself. I watch as a cop slips a ticket beneath the wiper blade, watch as it wrinkles with the morning dew, imagine the familiar "God damn it" escaping his lips, hoping that maybe this will make the aim of his fury what he'll be pissed about, and yell about shouting from his clenched jaw, and maybe, just maybe, not the urine warming my belly as the sky turns into liquid sun. I'll read 2 more, I think. And both of these are in, again, lucky, they're in Miramar. So I'll read this first one called Broke. It starts with an epigraph by Larry Levis. Poverty is what happens at the end of any story. Startled by the roach in between my toes, I promised the woman beside me, mid-dream, something better. Something beyond the 4 thin walls where we listen to lovers making love in the next room, their loud pleas to a God whose name we never spoke out loud. Or the cries of lovers crossed, promising that this will be the last night of chaos, the last night of arguing over the lost rent, or the last promise of the last drink in a bar where promises sit lost and drunk. And what lays hidden in my sock drawer tongue-tied is all I am capable of, nothing more. Each night I lock the door and turn the deadbolt and know that what we're unsafe from is a lifetime of loving one another poorly. And it's not the notes past due stacked in a shoebox like love letters or the empty fridge grumbling from its own hunger that are my failure. In the gray mornings of new days, shades drawn, I search the room for my boots and work shirt, black stained and sweaty, and already what seems hours late. But it is only in seconds that I watch her as she sleeps. The scent of her still sleeping body lingers in the room like warm bread, and I watch the small creature beside her, its breath ragged and difficult. Not a child, but a shadow of the space growing between us, wider and darker, and the truth I never find in the dark. I'm afraid what I can't afford is solitude. I'm too weak for it. Instead, I take off my clothes and lie down beside her again. I close my eyes knowing that everything in the coming light will scurry back to the dark, and that what I'll never have to admit is I am broke, and that perhaps we are broken if I don't wake up, walk through the door, and leave. So sometimes what I like to do is I obviously read poetry. I try to read as much as I can, but sometimes I just like to play poetry in the background and then just pick up sounds or whatever. And so I was listening to some younger poets read poems by Etheridge Knight, and so this kind of arose from just listening to the sounds at first and then trying to make it into something. So it's called Bones, after Etheridge Knight. Wrote, wrought iron are the words that cage me ugly, unspoken and smelling of the sea. I've searched the bottoms of rivers, trudged through that mud, silt blind and tight-lipped, mumbling under my breath. My tongue, the leech suckling from the heart in my mouth. The first and last words, always, Father, Father. Teetering on the tip of my tongue, Father, Father, because you don't speak ill of the dead, Father, Father, because you don't speak ill of the still living but simply departed, Father, Father, all my dark words, bone dry and sickly, Father, Father, my words deeper and further, Father, Father, falling deeper, 6 feet further, my mouth a casket closed and rusted shut. Thank you.